talk about the Japanese version because man, is it fascinating.
It is. Welcome, everybody, to the Down the Middle podcast. We are again joined by our friend Justin from the Spur of the Moment podcast, one of our sponsors for this evening. The other one is a newer podcast on our network, the one where the microphone isn't super far away and you can actually hear the guy. The Global Kindness Federation, headed off by our friend, our cohort, Dr. Fantastic, but more on those later. But tonight we're talking about strength, speed, and flatulence in that order.
In that order, yes, yes. I
if you
mean,
if you
the
haven't put it
characters,
together. Yeah, if you haven't put it together from the title or that very obvious reference, we're talking about Ultimate Muscle.
yes, yes, we are. I love this show.
Oh, dude,
It's
I
just that
loved it. And
just to
here's the
start it
funny
off.
thing. Here's the funny part is every time somebody brings it up, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I watched it on Fox." They were like, "It was on Fox?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it was on the Fox box.
Yep.
It was one of 4Kids flagship shows, which I
Or the
caught it
Fox
later.
box. Yep.
I caught it later, like towards the end, but I watched it because
Really.
it was actually a friend of mine who was explaining the character Jaeger to me, and and the red rain of pain.
The red man of pain
The
every
f-
time. You have to yell
the
it every
yeah,
time.
the
Red
first
man of
episode I ever saw was the one where Jaeger's getting stretched. He goes, "Ah, this is the worst pain I've ever felt."
mean, oh my God, there's so many characters to love. One of my personal favorites is later on in the series there's a character he's dressed in rhino armor and he just has Sylvester Stallone's voice. And the commentators are like, why does he keep yelling Adrian? And it's like he's in a rocky and a hard place.
Listen, they had fun with this dub, and
Oh my God.
Ultimate Muscle also holds the distinction of being one of the few series in which, okay, so 4Kids licensed the Japanese dub,
Mhm.
basically, and it was such a hit in the States that they actually commissioned the Japanese animation studio to make more episodes so
Mhm.
that they could air them in the States. They did air in Japan as well, but
Eventually, but it was as a spin-off, a second set of episodes,
correct.
and they dubbed the 4 Kids and also 4 Kids commissioned. There's a I was actually looking this up earlier, but 4 Kids commissioned a filler arc called the Poison
Yes.
Six Pack arc, which is
Yep.
just a bunch of characters from the Japanese versions movies.
Ah, yes. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, there's two Kinnikuman Nisei movies, and all those characters are from those movies.
So they commissioned a filler episode arc where those characters are introduced into the series.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that only aired out well, initially only aired outside of Japan. Yeah, the anime the manga is stupid popular. Like the anime doesn't do they didn't do the whole
N-
manga.
They did not,
Um
because I remember distinctly there was a, or maybe they did in the anime. I can't remember. It's been a while because I've seen the anime in its entirety, but it's been a minute. Did they do the bit? It would have been early in the manga because I read the beginning of the manga where Terry, the kid Kenyan, ends up fighting a guy who turns into a shoe.
yes, yeah,
Okay,
he
they
is
did that.
he's the son of Shakadile, who's a
That's right.
character
That's
from
right.
the original show. Yeah.
All right, so let's set this up for people who may not know, because believe it or not, wrestling and Japan, they go way back.
Massive.
Huge. And
Huge.
for a minute there, my golden age of wrestling as a fan personally was between the years 2014 and 2019. And
Okay,
my
okay.
favorite promotion at the time was New Japan Pro Wrestling because it was stellar.
I mean, well, to be fair, their version of pro wrestling is kind of more akin to MMA. Like it's what eventually became MMA as we kind of knew it anyway,
Yes,
ish.
yes and no. But there was a period prior to my golden age where New Japan was trying to give an air of legitimacy to it, insofar as a lot of their wrestlers had shoot MMA fights. Examples being like Shinsuke Nakamura actually having a fairly decent professional MMA record on top of his professional wrestling career, and that would influence him becoming the king of strong style and bringing back that more, I mean, strong style back to New Japan, and it's kind of been there ever since.
Oh, interesting.
For better or worse. I know there are some people who uh, have differing opinions on it, but I understand what Shinsuke was trying to do, and I was a fan. But um, to coincide with that sort of history with Japan and pro wrestling, you have several anime and manga properties that have to do with professional wrestling, including the prequel, or I should say, the first series that predates Ultimate Muscle, which the English version is just Muscle spelled out,
Yes. In Japan, it's called Kinnikuman. Which
which
it's muscle Musle, but it's yeah, he's the character's name is Kinnikuman.
translates to Muscle Man.
Muscle, yeah. And on Sunday, when you come on my show, we're gonna talk about Kinnikuman. We like
I want to
in way more
see
depth
it
than we will.
because I
You
have not
should.
seen Kuniko Man.
You should.
Yeah,
It is more without
it's
getting
more
into it
wrestling.
here. It is way closer to professional wrestling. And okay, a thing that you said to me when I was here last time that really stuck out to me was you were like, professional wrestling is way more about the stories than it is about the fighting itself.
In my opinion, there are people that disagree with me because there are people out there that are just like they just want good matches, and I'm that way to a point. But the point I always make, and CM Punk kind of echoes this: if you have a 5-star match but you haven't sold out the arena, we're not in the same business.
I mean, I was really invested in one of the videos you sent me was the Max Landis one, and just the way he delivered it, I was like, you know what? Yeah, when you put it like that, this is so much more investing than just watching two guys punch each other. If I wanted
And
to watch that, I could go
and
watch boxing.
yeah, and that's what I really like about it, which is why his video is so good because it's a funny take on it, but he's right. Like
It was really good.
when you map out Triple H's entire career that way, like it makes sense because assuming everything in this story is factual, which it's not, but assuming suspension of disbelief and all, it actually makes a lot of sense. Like it
It
makes
really
sense that
does.
someone would do this. And the benefit pro wrestling has of being a non-ending continual story is people can change.
Yep,
But
absolutely.
the core of who they are generally doesn't.
Yeah. Um, so with again, we're gonna go into more detail on Sunday, but Kinnikuman is way more like professional wrestling in terms of like there's way more like heel and face turns. Characters go from being good to evil again in like the span of multiple arcs. Like a character who's
Is it less of a comedy series? Because I
it begins itself as a comedy series. Here's what I'll do. I'll give you a sneak preview of one of the arcs, um, here because it's my favorite. It's my favorite arc in that series so far. I'm only 67 episodes in, but it's my favorite. And it's you know the character Kevin Mask,
yes,
his
his
dad
father,
Robin
Robin
Mask.
Mask. Yep.
Yes, you know how at the end at the end of this series, it ends with Kevin Mask and Kid Muscle doing that final battle, and it's all hinting back at their original the Robin Mask. Yeah, well, so Kinnikuman Man defeats Robin Mask in the second annual Chojin Olympics,
Hmm.
and he up until that point is basically Hulk Hogan. He's pure face, heel, face. He comes back. They did a long running arc where Kinnikuman basically fought a bunch of WWF wrestlers. So he fights Dusty Rhodes, he fights Fritz von Erich, or Fritz von, not von Erich, Fritz von Iron Claw. He fights that
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
He's the final boss.
that's
Is that Fritz
that's
von Erich?
that's the Von Erich, yeah.
Yeah.
Although
He fights.
just an asterisk there, Fritz von Erich was never in the WWF.
Oh, he's the final boss though of that arc of
Big in
characters.
wrestling, but just being that guy. Yeah, Fritz von Erich. Well, no, Fritz von Erich was not in the WWF. One of his sons, Kerry von Erich, was, but he was known as the Texas Tornado. But fun fact, that was after he lost his foot.
Pin in that. We're gonna talk
Yeah,
about
we're
that.
gonna get there.
We're gonna talk about. But um, so Robin Mask comes back in that arc as he's now a bad guy. He's a heel and he's working for the bad guys. And he realizes through his fight with Kinnikuman that he rediscovers that he's actually a good guy all along. And he goes face again and he gets taken out by the bad guys. And you think he's dead. Like he falls off a cliff and you think he's dead. And then in the next arc, which is the second Chojin Olympics, there's a character called Warsman, who they talk about him and King Muscle, as they refer to him in Ultimate Muscle, as being his ultimate. And it is. It is a sick fucking match. It goes on for like 5 episodes. It's amazing. And Warsman has an evil manager the entire run. He's this evil blonde guy, and he's his manager. He's like whipping him with whips, and he's like, "You gotta kill Kaneko Man, and I'm super evil, and I need to get my vengeance." And it gets to the point where he's about to fight Warsman, and the evil manager is like, "You don't know, Kaneko Man, that I'm really someone from your past." And he pulls off the mask, and it's Robin Mask underneath the mask.
Wait,
Big twist.
he pulls off a mask,
And he's
and
Robin Mask
it's
underneath it.
another
Yeah, yeah,
mask.
yeah, yeah. And he's Robin Mask underneath it. And it turns out that Robin Mask, face of all faces, is now a heel. And he's evil. And he's out for revenge.
That's
It is
awesome.
pure professional wrestling, Jake. Like more
I
so than Ultimate Muscle.
I mean, it is. To kind of do a quick shout out to another anime series, which I did not watch in its entirety, but I was intrigued. Um, Tiger Mask W, and
Oh yeah, I want it's on my
this was
list.
unique because at the time, several actual New Japan wrestlers were featured. So you got to see like anime version Kenny Omega and Tama
Oh, that's
Tonga.
pretty cool.
It is pretty sick. But they also coordinated alongside New Japan. So, and everybody knows who it was. You had Tiger Mask W wrestling alongside Tiger Mask, who is a legendary character. Like he's right up there along with Jushin Thunder Liger, another
Huh.
anime. Although that's not a pro wrestling anime, but and he was Kota Ibushi was him under the mask, and it was obvious because it looked and wrestled just like Kota Ibushi. Um,
Huh.
but then Tiger the Dark, his rival in the anime, wrestled a few matches in New Japan, and it was just ACH under a mask, which is always funny when you have a masked wrestler who is just another wrestler with a mask on, because you can always like when they did the Curry Man bit, and it's like everybody knew it was Christopher Daniels, but
Oh,
that's what made it
interesting.
funny.
There's certain like or like the was it the Blue Bomber and Owen Hart, like where you go,
The
it's
Blue
Owen
Blazer,
Hart.
yeah.
Blue Blazer, I mean, yeah, it's that's Owen Hart. You just tell it's Owen Hart.
I mean, yeah,
Um,
well, and they're doing that. The funny thing is they're doing that now with a character in WWE, except it's turning. There have been two wrestlers under this mask, El Grande Americano.
no,
Dude, it's
I'm familiar.
delightfully, it's so delightfully stupid that he's not a baby face, but he's become very popular. So originally the character was Chad Gable, who was like a really American, I mean, a legitimate Olympian
Yeah.
wrestler, NCAA champion. Like he had a feud going on with Lucha Libre, right? So in order to beat Lucha Libre, he sought out the world's greatest luchador, El Grande Americano. And it was just Chad Gable under a mask. But here lately, they gave the gimmick to a wrestler named Ludwig Kaiser, who is great because he actually speaks Spanish. And dude, he's going to Mexico and getting cheered as
That's pretty awesome.
a white American luchador who speaks Spanish and is just wrecking luchadors left, right, and center.
Really,
Like he's a champion, dude.
that's awesome. I love
It's
it. That's
so
great.
great. Well, but it just goes to show you with professional wrestling, if you commit to the bit, like as long as you commit to the bit, it can be stupid. I mean, the Undertaker's a legend, and he played a dead man
I mean, yeah. I
for
mean,
decades.
again, gotta talk about the Undertaker. I love the Undertaker, but
Everybody loves the Undertaker.
I mean, who doesn't love the Undertaker? So that all having been said, watching Ultimate Muscle this time was strange for me because there was
I
a
can
lot of
imagine.
moments where I'm like, holy shit, it's that guy. I know that guy now. Like there's so many times where it was like there's a point where Kid Muscle just starts shit talking King Muscle, and I'm like, you don't even know, like that fight with Warsman and Buffalo Man where it was like a drag out knuckle brawl, and you have the audacity to say it was fake. Like what the fuck? Like
But here's and this actually lends itself, which the casual American audience who doesn't dig into this wouldn't know. Kinnikuman Ultimate Muscle is supposed to be like that
yeah.
because so the title of the anime in Japanese and the manga is Kinnikuman Nisei, which literally means second generation.
Yes, yes, it does. Yes,
So the American viewer who started with Ultimate Muscle, like they get the gist of it, but it's like you said, the effect is not there because
yes, it's not the same.
these characters, all the characters are new to a first time viewer of Ultimate Muscle who has not seen
Yes.
Kinikuma.
I the first time when I first watched it when I was a teenager, it drove me crazy because I was like, I feel like I'm watching Dragon Ball Z, but I've never seen Dragon Ball. What is this?
I
And then
mean,
I
I
looked it
mean,
out.
at the end of the day, it's shonen anime. It's just wrestling instead of karate. Like
Technically speaking, it's not technic only in the sense that Kinnikuman and Kinnikuman Nisei ran in Playboy in Japan.
well, okay, technically, yeah, that's accurate.
Like
That is accurate. It's
what's
technically not shonen.
what's really funny
It was
about
certainly marketed as shonen in the
yeah,
States.
in
It
the
ran
States it was
alongside those.
shonen.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But in Japan it was. What's crazy about Ultimate Muscle is like you'd be like, oh, it's so different from the Japanese version, but it's really
It's
not.
really not. There's some colloquialisms that they add to great effect, i.e. the Rocky reference. And
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
like I'm not gonna say the dub's incredible, but it's not bad. And it's overacted on purpose. You can tell. Like the voice actors are having fun with it. Like
Oh, for
there's a
sure.
moment where Kevin Mask is watching, I forget who Kid Muscle's fighting, but he's fighting somebody in Kevin Mask is like, "Oh, he has to beat him because I lost to him one time."
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
And I
mean,
got to save my reputation.
it feels like the biggest thing I could say, but number one, the amount of shit that it gets away with is just utterly incredible. Like one of my favorite bits early on is where Kid Muscle gets dropped on his neck, and someone says, "What do you think the strongest part in his body is?" And Meat goes, "I was gonna say his sphincter." And you're like, he said sphincter. This show aired on Saturday mornings. Like I can't, or at one point someone says, the ladies are in lust with him, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't. And honestly, for a show, for a group of people that got lambasted for changing Japanese references, the amount of Japanese references that get to stay in this is kind of impressive. Like, I remember them calling it the Butt Buster for way longer than they did. The fact that they call it the
Yeah.
Kentucky Buster was surprising. I was like, I distinctly remember them calling it the Butt Buster for at least 5 episodes.
See, I remember being confused by that because I knew it was the Muscle Buster, the Kaniku Buster, but I remembered Kid Muscle calling it the Butt Buster.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm really glad they changed it
yeah,
back. But they turn it into a moment in the dub where like Kid actually says he's like, "Ah, I'm gonna, start calling it its proper name again." Or
yeah, yeah.
some,
The kid,
they allude to it.
there's a point in the later on in the series where he says the symbol on my forehead means Niku, which Kiniku means muscle. And I was like, yes, yes, it does mean muscle. I was like, wow, that's really impressive that four kids wouldn't have like just changed it to be called the Muscle Buster.
Hey, and this is before we had K-pop Demon Hunters subtly drop in random Korean.
I mean, yeah, well, like there's a lot of like moments where like, oh no, this is like surprisingly like I thought it for sure would be like the only thing they really changed character wise is in the original Japanese, Jaeger and Brocken Jr. are not related. Jaeger is not Brocken Jr.'s son.
This is true. He was, and well, and Jaeger's name isn't Jaeger in the Japanese, it's Jade,
Jade, yeah, yeah, yeah. And
which is weird. Good change. Very good change.
very good change. I mean, the one I said to Jordan before we hopped on was they changed the Red Rain of Pain from the Red Rain of Berlin, and I think
Yes,
objectively Red Rain of Pain is a better name.
it is because it has the rhyme.
Yeah, exactly. Red Rain.
But
I
then
get
again,
where the name comes
I don't know
from.
what, actually, I do know what rain is in Japanese, but it doesn't rhyme with Berlin. So
No, yeah, I don't.
yeah, Red
I
Rain of Pain is better.
Red Rain of Pain is an objectively just a better name. The one, although sometimes they don't nail it. There's a character who in Japanese his name is Mince, and in the English version his name becomes Minch. And the spoiler alert, the big twist is that Mince is Meat's dad, which
Ah,
is
mincemeat.
Mince
Get it.
Meat. Yeah, yeah, which yeah, yeah.
That's unfortunate.
I know. I was like, oh, that would have been a much funnier joke in the original.
Well, and I do get a lot because a lot of these characters are just parodies of well-known wrestlers. Like obviously Terry Kenyon is oh God, what's his name? Oh jeez, I'm blanking on it.
I well, Terry Man is a particular. Yeah, he's a parody of a particular wrestler from the 80s. Like to be fair, Kinect Command began its life as parody, so a lot of these guys are
Yes.
parody characters. But I love Terry. While you're looking that up, I love Terry the Kenyon because I love the fact. I kind of wish they had kind of stretched out a bit longer, but I really enjoyed the fact that he starts off as a heel because Terry Man again very specifically is a face like that, just big, straight, plain out, flat out good guy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and the whole bit there, that whole sort of story arc, that always kind of reminded me of Hulk Hogan and Macho Man, but it's a tale as old as time in wrestling.
Yeah,
You know, the partners, so to speak, but one getting all the glory and the other one just being the workhorse. Um,
yeah. Well, a thing I realized this time is I realized that Wally Tuskett and Dick Van Dyke are jobbers.
yes.
They're total jobbers. I was like, oh my God, they're total jobbers. They're just there to lose. Like that's all they do. That's all they're there to do. It goes so far as there's a really funny bit. They introduce a character later on. He proceeds to intro every episode for the back half of the series, but it's a character called Monsieur Cheeks, and he's just he's just a fucking ass. Literally, he's an
Oh,
ass.
Chris Canyon,
Oh, okay, fair enough.
which is not
Um,
this, it's not the same character, but the name is a play on it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, and I think in Japanese they just call him the kid, I think in the Japanese version.
Uh, Maybe I'm not. I'd have to look that up again. I don't want to spend the entire episode
Yeah,
on my
Googling,
phone.
yeah. I do know that I know that the manga went on for quite a I think it's still going on because they do a here's a thing that may surprise you. A character you will never guess goes heel in the manga, Wally Tuskett.
Really?
Yeah, legit. Like he has an evil form that actually looks kind of badass.
I mean, and here's so what I was getting at is it lends itself to a very Japanese style of storytelling where, and I really would, the States, the West in general is getting better at this, but Japan, just in the way they tell a lot of their stories, they just kind of understand culturally that eventually your heroes get old and you have to pass
Yeah,
the torch eventually. And there's a lot of
yeah,
stories. I mean, well, it was going that way in Dragon Ball until everybody was like, "Nah, we're not really into Gohan. We need to."
yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
And I think
We're not gonna go on a ton.
but I think they're gonna try that again.
You think?
The last movie seems to indicate that.
Allegedly, there's a Trunks Goten movie coming out.
Yes,
They're gonna do.
I've heard about that. Although that wasn't one of the official announcements. See the Average Intelligence podcast for more details. But like Ultimate Muscle and Kinnikuman together, like there's no reason they couldn't do a third series where now Kid Muscle is the old timer and
They
his kid.
kinda did the later chapters of the manga. They eventually did do a storyline where Kanik Kid Muscle is older and more mature, and he goes back in time. And there's Time Chojin now, evil Time Chojin, and they go back in time to try and kill Robin Mask to prevent Kevin Mask from coming back. And he ends up doing a tag team match against his dad.
Nice. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. And he's and according to from what I could read, he seems to be a substantially more serious character in
Well,
that, which
he gets there. Like I'm just gonna shout out because I remember I watched it in its entirety back when it was airing on the Fox box. His match with Kevin Mask at the end of the series is genuinely good television.
it is. I will say the twist that like, again, spoiler alert, but the he's got a trainer throughout the back half of that arc. The twist that he's Warsman like
Hmm.
meant nothing to me as a child.
I know, but
Nothing to me.
now that you mentioned that, I even put that together in my head. I'm like, oh, well, and okay, so backing up again, you'll see this in pro wrestling a lot, but especially in Japanese pro wrestling, history repeats itself. like awesome.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you know what? Because this was
Really
in one of the
cool.
video. This was in one of the videos I sent you. This happens in Western wrestling too, quite a bit. Because there's that beautiful match comparison, and the thing is, you don't think about it until you're presented side by side because it happens like a decade or so apart. Is I know you'll know what I'm talking about. They go through that match where Roddy Piper versus Bret Hart, and
Oh yeah. 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 Yeah.
Bret Hart is clearly outclassing him, and Roddy Piper has to cheat to win. But before he actually hits him with the bell, he has a change of heart
Yes.
and then loses gracefully. And then the exact same thing, almost verbatim, happens about a decade or so later between Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yes. I recall this. I recall this from one of the videos you sent me. Yes. 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 Yes.
And that to me, and that's why I do get frustrated with modern pro wrestling to a point. Because you watch a match like that, and it's like nobody did a flip and nobody did anything, but it was Jeff's kiss. Great storytelling. Nobody said a word because nobody had to say a word.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, again to go back to the when he takes off the mask and he's Robin mask underneath it, I was like, my mind's fucking blown. I was like, and I'm like, I understand the love of professional wrestling now. I was so invested in the story of like animated professional wrestling characters.
Well, dude, I mean, just being real, like surprises are huge in pro wrestling, and there's always they finally, well, I shouldn't say finally, they've known this for a while, but they figured out how to use the internet to their advantage. So, and a fun
Yes.
fact, you might appreciate this. I came up with a 2 year storyline that involves a WWE New Japan Limited uh, talent swap, which is not unprecedented. They've done it before, and it starts with. Do you know what the G1 climax is?
No.
Okay, long story short, it's kind of like the Trojan Olympics. It's a big deal. It's a
Oh,
tournament that
okay.
New Japan holds every year, but it's a round robin tournament. So everybody, well,
Oh, interesting.
not everybody. It's not single elimination. Like WWE does this all the time. They're like, we're gonna have a tournament, and it's like it's only 6 people and it's single elimination. It's like, no, stretch that shit out. Tournaments are great
Yeah.
for stretching stuff out. I love tournaments.
Tournaments are great unless it's the brawl for all.
Well, nobody's perfect. But hey, and speaking of anime and tournaments, I still point out, I don't know if you've seen Yu Yu Hakusho, but I still maintain that the Dark Tournament arc of Yu Yu Hakusho is one of the greatest, not only anime television arcs of all time, it's one of the best television arcs ever.
Oh, it's on
It's
my list.
so good. It's so good. I was a casual Yu Yu Hakusho fan until I watched the Dark Tournament, and I was like, I'm here. This is
Sometimes
great.
I, sometimes a solid character like that, like with these shows that happened to me, where like it hit a certain arc, and I went, I'm in. Like that just happens with
Yeah,
certain
you
animes
just
where
get it.
like you just like instantly you're like, okay, I get this now. I see how this. I see the appeal of this. I understand. I totally get it.
Yeah, well, we are going to go deep into pro wrestling on Sunday when I appear on the Spur of the Moment podcast. But to tide you over, here's a quick look at what you can see on the Spur of the Moment podcast and a sick baseline.
So today's episode is sponsored by the Spur of the Moment podcast. Everybody, come join us every Saturday. We're gonna do this. We're gonna sit here. We're gonna talk about the news. Time to talk about the Minecraft.
Okay.
It looks
So,
bad. We're gonna talk about movies. That new Joker movie is apparently terrible, and I want to see it so badly because I hear it's awful. And we're gonna make some jokes. We're gonna have some laughs.
There's a lot of funny jokes in there. There's a lot of weird jokes in there. The Channing Tatum one will always make me laugh, especially when you hear the behind the scenes stuff, like when you hear the behind the scenes story of how they just phoned them up.
We're occasionally gonna have other people along for the ride.
A really fun fact, though, is I learned last year that that Coraline was Leica and not Disney.
Oh, interesting. I mean, I can see why you would make that
Yeah.
mistake. Yeah. Because it does seem like it's a different. And to be fair,
That would be a horrifying, terrible Disney movie.
it would be because yeah. And we're just gonna have a generally good time. Dora, do you have anything else you want to say about our podcast? Make people watch it.
We watch movies. Sometimes we watch shows, but we always have fun.
Here
On the
Okay,
spur,
the spur.
3, 2, 1. on the spur of the podcast moment.
Yeah, we nailed it. Nailed
Spur
it.
of the moment podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. It's Spur of the Moment podcast every Saturday. We nailed it.
You can expect awesome content like that.
We cut flawless promos every single week. And he's eating the pills, and I'm like, I know this is supposed to be sad, but this is like the third one, and what are the odds of that?
Fun fact, we're talking about the Iron Claw, everybody. We've been back for a second, but yeah, I was just, and Justin knows this, but the it's not funny. The truly tragic thing about that movie is that they held stuff back because
Yes,
they
they did.
probably thought, like, there's no way people are going to buy this as a biopic.
That's what the director said. He was like, "Ooh, it got to the point where we're getting too sad," and you're like, "Oh, that's bad."
I also just absolutely adored the Jim Cornette cameo in that movie. As a fan of Jim Cornette, generally speaking, that
Is
was
he?
that was wild.
Is Jim Cornette in that? I completely missed that.
He's
That's funny.
he's the commissioner of something. I can't remember. I think it was the NWA.
Oh, that's hilarious. I completely missed him. I mean, I've got on Sunday. Tune in. I've got stuff to say about Vince Russo.
Oh, shit
we're
stain.
gonna spend some time talking about Vince Russo and David Arquette because that blew my
Hey,
fucking mind.
I will give credit to David Arquette. He's a professional wrestler.
He is now.
Yeah.
He is now. Yeah, we're gonna talk about David Arquette on Sunday. That's a sneak peek.
Hey, at least he got in the ring. That's all I'm gonna say. He got in the ring with an idiot, but he did get in the ring. Are you aware of the Nick Gage match?
Oh, we're gonna do okay, again, sneak preview for Sunday. We're gonna do a slice of the dark side of the ring, and that's one of the episodes we're gonna talk about.
I've got strong feelings about.
We're gonna talk about Nick Gage. We're gonna because I felt like that was the best way to slice into some wrestling history and in an approachable manner for Jordan.
Speaking of slicing, I don't know if you know this, Justin, but I watched this happen live. So Nick Gage had a match on AEW Dynamite. And
really?
Yeah, and he does the pizza slicer spot.
On AEW?
Oh, Justin, it gets better.
No way.
In a moment of true idiocy, he's doing the pizza cutter spot on Chris Jericho at like 9 p.m. something. It's
what?
And Justin, they cut to a picture-in-picture ad spot for Domino's Pizza. I watched this happen live and I laughed my ass off, and then Domino's got super pissed.
I don't blame them. Okay, not to give anything away. Nick Gage is a fucking psycho. Absolute psycho.
I'll dig more into that because we're talking about the lighthearted fun and flagellance of Ultimate Muscle.
Yes. I will say Ultimate Muscle does do that 4Kids thing occasionally of undercutting drama for the sake of humor. It does do that a lot. And like
at the end of the day, though, it's Ultimate Muscle.
It is. I watched the first episode of Kinnikuman Nisei because I was curious, and I was like, yeah, it's more similar than you'd expect, but as different as you would expect at the same time.
Which that's just localizing. And here's the thing: I don't really fault 4Kids in their sentiment for localizing because these were aimed at children. And
the thing that comes across in the dubbing of this show the most is they clearly expected nobody to watch it.
Well, even in the opening episode, Kid Muscle's told he can't eat until he finishes his homework, so he's like, "Okay, I better get back to studying my figures."
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, I'm in here learning geometry," and I'm like, "Wow!"
But like when the snake guy or the guy destroys his mom's food and he gets mad, that is verbatim what happens in the Japanese version.
Oh yeah, and that's a very Japanese joke.
It is, but it's surprising that 4Kids being who they were didn't like. There's a lot of jokes in this that I'm like, I can't believe, or like humor in this that I can't believe 4Kids didn't censor. Like the amount of this they don't censor is incredible.
Yeah, it's kind of one step away from Ghost Stories. Are you familiar with that whole journey?
No.
Okay, so Ghost Stories. So there's a bit of a history lesson here, and it makes it all the more funnier. So Ghost Stories was a manga series that was very successful, and it's just what it sounds like. It's kind of like Scooby-Doo minus the dog, but there is a cat. Um, and it's a group of students at a high school, and I don't know the exact details of it because I haven't seen it in its entirety, but I think there's a new school and an old school, and the old school is extremely haunted. And
Okay.
their whole deal is they like it's not a comedy series. It's very much of a monster of the week sort of, but they turned it into an anime, and the anime was met with just complete disinterest in Japan. So
Interesting.
this was also during a time because it was the height of DVD and television series being released on DVD. So there were distributors in the States that were literally looking for anything because this was, I would say, this is the heyday of anime
Oh,
where
okay.
like they were looking for anything. So I forget what studio got it, but long story short, they bought the rights to it, and the only thing the Japanese studio said is you can't change like the overall story, but other than that, go nuts. You can do whatever you want. So
Have
they,
fun.
dude, they it was basically Dragon Ball Z abridged before Dragon Ball Z abridged. Like it's offensive, it's racist, it's sexist, it's horrible and
This just
hilarious.
kind of like that though, where it has what I would characterize as Team Four style jokes, where it's like the same frame of animation used over again to utilize for a joke. It happens a ton on this show, where it's like it's reusing the same three frames. Or my personal favorite is if you're familiar with Four Kids, they've got like seven voice actors. And so, like, you've got Roxanne, but she's an old lady. You've got Roxanne, but she's Mexican. You've got
I
at
will
one
say
point,
a lot of those, especially the earlier American dub studios. Yeah, I don't know why I don't know why I'm yawning. I'm not even tired, but and even some of the Canadian studios, they rely heavily on accents to
yeah,
maximize
yeah.
their uh it's quite funny actually. And what was the series where I'm trying to remember? I can't remember, but basically, I do love though how every American is just a cowboy at the end of the
Yep.
day.
It's just just a cowboy. I mean, every the one that I don't know if I would call it offended me, but bothered me is in the Japanese. The character, his name's not Wally Tuskett in the original Japanese, but um he's from Ireland, and there's a bit where why not give him a comedic Irish accent for kids? Like there's a bit where he Terry Kenyon walks out and he's got Dick Van Dyke's flag from Africa on his one arm, and he's got Wally Tuskett's flag from Ireland. But because Wally Tuskett isn't allowed to be Irish for some reason, it's where his favorite fish is from. I was like, why couldn't he have been from Ireland? I don't understand. Like, is like I don't get it. Especially because Kid Muscle gets to be from Japan, so
But he's
it's
not from Japan.
I know it's so weird. It's very bizarre. It's like so bizarre.
Very odd.
Um, yeah, there's just a lot of like jokes that are now funny to me because I get what this is referencing now. Like they bring back characters. We're like, oh okay. Like there's this one character who in the he comes back and he's lost to King Muscle at rock paper scissors. So now he's genetically modified himself to have a different. Like the first time he lost because he could only make a rock hand, and the second time he lost because he had his hand genetically modified, so he can only make a paper hand. And now he's come back, and now he's got like several different hands that all that you don't get if you haven't seen the original Japanese. Like but they make reference to it. It's so strange. The dub is so strange in that way, where they'll
It's
make
very
references
funny.
to these previous gags. Like it's so weird. It's so weird. Like yeah, I don't. If you didn't, yeah, you wouldn't get this. As a kid, the kids who are watching this don't get this, and the adults who are watching this don't understand the references either. Yeah,
No, I mean that's basically the history of the franchise in North America, though, is not understanding because you even had the figurines, the unpainted figurines, where they're like, it feels like there's some
more to
IP
this.
behind it, yeah, but they didn't explain it, so it's kind of like, okay, whatever. But
Yeah, well. it was, I mean, Ultimate Muscle for a while there was like it was like I wouldn't say as big as Dragon Ball, but like they it was
I'm
for
not gonna go. I'm not
merchandising
gonna go that far, but I will say this though. It was a headliner on the Fox box, and it was
for
popular
sure.
when it was on, and I totally understand why. Like it's also one of those series where the opening theme tells you exactly what you're gonna get.
It tells you everything you need to know. Like the thing that it's interesting because it mentions the fact, and I don't know, maybe it's because I was like a slow kid. It's possible I was. But like I know they say in the theme song that he's wearing a mask, but
Yeah.
like it wasn't until like way later that I realized like at the end of the series they kind of go into the him wearing a mask and why that's a big deal and like how that's not actually what he looks like.
Right, yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I actually like that bit because it does that's more of a lucha libre thing, but it is drawing an homage. I mean,
Yeah,
Japanese, some Japanese wrestlers have masks, but masks are big in lucha libre, like where they have the pomp and
yeah.
circumstance and the ceremony and the whole like if you lose your mask, you lose your identity sort of thing.
Because
And I like that.
part of the gag with the mask is that underneath the mask is they're hot. That's the
Yeah,
idea. Is they're good.
that's a
They're good
great.
looking. They're incredibly good looking, and they have to wear the mask to conceal their beauty. That's the whole. That's the whole gag.
I love that. I
Um,
love that. That's so funny. But actually, speaking to, did you watch the History of Pentagon video I sent you?
no, I'm midway through the 2.5 hour one.
They're all good. But that one in
That's hard.
particular.
Yeah, I've learned a shit ton. Actually, the my entire perception of professional wrestling was changed by the about the idea because I always saw it as like yeah, fun fights, but yeah, like I said, when you once you were like, no, it's really more about the stories that they tell. I was like,
Well, and
yeah,
I will grant you my favorite pro wrestling moments are when reality and the kayfabe elements blend together in a way where you're not
uh,
entirely sure what's legit and what's not, or there are because I'm a success junkie. I like seeing people make it, and pro wrestling is a way that you can see that journey like
well, I was
progressively.
one of the videos you sent me was about Roman Reigns,
Hmm.
and that I get that from that because I saw there was the one promo he showed where it was John Cena had come back and he was like, I
Yeah.
do this better part-time than you do it full-time. And that felt real. Like I was like,
Oh,
oh, that feels like a real
oh
dig.
no, because and again, we don't know, but I'm willing to bet part of that at least was legitimate because there's also the moment where Roman clearly forgets what he was supposed to say, and then John's like, "Go ahead, I'll wait."
Yeah.
It's
No,
it's
that
called a
yeah.
promo. It's called a promo. It's called a promo, son. If you're gonna be the big dog, you're gonna have to learn how to do it. And I'm kind of like
That felt
that.
real.
That felt real, even
That
if it
did. That absolutely
wasn't.
did.
If well, because the expression on Roman's face really sells it. But what I'm gonna point out is, and really, I wish Super Eye Patch Wolf, who makes awesome pro wrestling, long pro wrestling videos, I really want him to do a CM Punk one because that story is
I would too
fascinating.
actually. I started to watch his Undertaker one. I'm like, oh, this is really yeah, I would totally watch one of his talking about CM Punk because
Well, I'll
he
give you the
makes history.
condensed. I'll give you the condensed version. But yeah, so Punk was like an indie darling, and for most of his indie run, he was a heel, but he was kind of both. And Ring of Honor at that
Really?
time was less. And Ring of Honor really, I don't know how it is now since Tony Khan bought it because I can't watch it because for some reason he refuses to get Ring of Honor a television deal outside of Warner Brothers Discovery because listen, Tony Khan is not a smart man.
That's the impression I've gotten. You're not the first person I've heard say that.
He has the benefit of his father's money, but he is not a smart man. But
I mean,
I I
as most rich people aren't. Yeah.
I digress. But where am I going with this? So the story really begins with Punk when he goes to WWE developmental, and it was actually great because he orchestrated an angle in Ring of Honor to coincide with him signing his contract. So he basically faked it
Hmm.
and led people to think he was leaving before he did. And then they had what they call the Summer of Punk, where and then he eventually signed his developmental contract on the Ring of Honor world title.
Oh.
So masterful, just masterful storytelling. And then he gets to OVW, and you have all that jazz, which he did a lot in OVW, but the story really begins when he ends up in WWE's ECW. And I'm sorry, everybody. I have no idea why. And he was only there because Paul Heyman wanted him, because Paul Heyman at the time was the one who was running OVW on the WWE side. It's always been run by Danny Davis, and but Paul Heyman was the WWE side of things. And he kept
Right.
saying, he was like, "We have a superstar here. Why don't you want him on TV?" And then so this is Paul Heyman talking. He said, "When I was given ECW, Punk was my first pick."
Oh,
And so he
interesting.
goes, and then there's a moment at, I think it's the 2006 Survivor Series, where he's in a match with Shawn Michaels and Triple H and the Hardys in a Survivor Series elimination match. And
Okay.
it's a clean sweep babyface victory in a way that's like, it's really entertaining and fun, but it's not stupid. I always point that out as that's a classic example of how you can have a comedy match without it being stupid, because it's possible, but it's a fine line. And they're clearly having a blast with it. But they frame it basically in a way like this match is so one-sided that the babyface team can afford to goof off a little bit because
Interesting.
they're so much better. But this is a moment that Triple H actually and Punk talk about is DX was red hot at this point. Like they were extremely popular, but Punk got the biggest ovation from the crowd.
Hmm.
And they're in Philadelphia, which it'd be one thing if they were in Chicago where Punk was from.
Yeah.
But and to be fair, Ring of Honor ran a lot of events out of Philadelphia, so it's not like they didn't know who he was. And on camera, Triple H pays homage to it, but it's my understanding that that irked him a bit. Um,
Really?
Punk is someone who should not was not supposed to make it in the WWE. His words, not mine. But at the
Yeah.
time, it's very true. But the audience kept demanding Punk, and it got to the point where like his biography is really good. His WWE biography is really good. But basically, it's like I'm sure this is him talking. He's like, I'm sure there were several times that they wanted to fire me, but they couldn't because you know, I was
Too
too
popular?
popular.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
so they give me shit angles, and I'd turn them into gold, and
I
that just made
mean,
him mad. That just made him
I've
even more angry.
I've seen some of them. They look dumb. I saw there was one that popped up today on my YouTube that was him wearing makeup that I was like, I don't have time to click this. I don't know what this is, but I don't have time to watch this right now.
Oh, that was when he came to the ring as Jeff Hardy.
Oh,
That's
is
the
that
thing they
it?
do. That's the thing they do in pro wrestling. But anyway, long story short, so it culminated in Punk just having enough, and he left. He just left the company. Um, and then 7 years after that, and I remember because I AEW got their first no, their first episode got over 1 million viewers, but this was the second time they got over 1 million viewers on the rumor that CM Punk was going to be there.
Oh wow.
It wasn't advertised and it wasn't confirmed. And sure
I
enough, this was a smart decision. If this was Tony Khan's decision, this was smart. They opened the show with CM Punk.
I remember when he joined AEW. I like not being super familiar. I remember that was a big deal.
And then any respect I had, like Tony, we're going back to Tony Khan's a fucking idiot. Um, and I said this on this program. It's not like they screwed up the deal and like they almost had CM Punk, but then they messed up the negotiation. No, they had CM Punk under contract and then they fucked it up.
And that's when he went back to WWE.
Not immediately, but there was some time in between. But yeah, basically. And then I was watching this live. I just wanted to watch the pay per view. I had no idea CM Punk was going to be there. But he popped out at the end of the pay per view, and I was like, "Oh my god, he's back!" We
Holy,
predicted
sh- I
we predicted both of those, not returns, but both of those debuts, because I had a feeling he was going to end up back in WWE.
I remember that being a big deal. Like
It was
when
it
he
was
came
very
back to yeah,
surprising.
because he made that because I remember seeing all those promos where it was questionable and him being like, I fucking hate the WWE. So it was big shock. I think that was kind of when I wasn't like I knew what a work was, but like I wasn't like
But here's the
that was
thing, Punk,
questionable enough that I thought it was
yeah,
real.
Punk is a master at blurring that line because what he actually Jim Cornette broke this down expertly, which if anybody knows anything about promos, it's Jim Cornette. Is
It's true.
Punk will lead you into a couple of things that you know are true, and then he can weave in the work in a way where it's not obvious to you because he's already kind of earned your trust, so to speak, because he references and he does this thing where he'll reference things that he's probably not supposed to reference on camera, but he's doing it anyway. So now you're like, oh, this feels like a shoot.
Yeah, yeah, he does. Yeah, he's really good at that.
He's a master of it. Well, it's like name checking Miz on AEW television, and that was which that's one of his better promos. It's like an 18-minute multi-segment 18-minute promo back and forth with him and MJF, and
Really.
it's dude. I remember watching it because I was floored by how masterful this was done. It was the week of Thanksgiving, right? And again, multi-segment, 18 or so minute back and forth talking segment. And
Wow, that's a
I
long
was
time.
glued to the TV. And the whole time
Solid.
I'm like, they are so good. They are so good. And that's what that's where Punk dropped a couple of his better zingers where he's like, all this time I thought MJF was your name, but now I understand it just stands for my jealous fan. And then he's like, you're just a less famous Miz. And I'm like,
Solid, solid crack.
and I know Miz had to have gotten a kick out of that.
Yeah, I
So
mean, well,
it's like,
from what I
holy
can
crap.
gather, the Miz has a decent sense of humor, so I imagine.
Listen, and here's the funny thing, and this is coming from somebody who, when the Miz early in his career couldn't stand him, and now I understand I was supposed to not be able to stand him, but I have mad respect for the Miz because I don't. There are other people, but I don't know that you could find many more that took the level of shit that he did.
Is he the one? Is he the one who he did the snake?
No, that's Santino Morello.
Santino Morel. Okay, I was gonna get them confused.
No, but yeah, Miz is very underrated, and I shouted out a match he had with was it Gunther? I think it was Gunther, where like I always point that out. I'm like, that's masterful
I
in
think
ring
I think I've,
storytelling.
I think I've heard of this match because I think people have said it's quite good. I think I
It's
saw a clip of
really
him
good,
talking about it with Chris Van
probably. Chris
whatever the
Van
last
Vliet,
is.
who does
Thank
does
you.
really really good interviews, but sometimes a bit too friendly. But I understand why he does it that way because you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you.
I mean,
So I
you want to be
totally
able to
get
get
it.
the people on. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. You want to be. He had a really good one with Penta. Um,
Yes, yes. I think I've seen clips of it. Yeah, it's funny. I didn't recognize the name, and then you sent me the video of it. And I was like, oh yes, I do know who this person is. I
that
do. I
guy.
recognize this costume. That guy. I know who that
Well, and
is.
that's another example of watching because here's another thing you have to understand. Are you familiar with Lucha Underground?
No, not specifically. I mean, I'm familiar with luchadors.
Oh, dude, Lucha Underground.
I've heard luchador wrestling is really, really good.
Okay, let me explain. So I tend to not really like Mexican Lucha Libre because it's kind of like the logic goes out the window in the name of high spots. Because I'll put it this way: I was watching Triple Mania, which is basically Triple A's WrestleMania, and I watched a guy do a top rope springboard moonsault to a guy on the outside who's not even in the match. And
All right. Okay.
the guy on the outside sat there and waited for it. And this person is not even in the match.
Um.
And this kind of crap happens all the time. Not to say AAA is bad, but if you're looking for logical coherence in your in-ring psychology, you will not typically find it in um, Lucha Libre. However, Lucha Underground was probably the best version of Lucha Libre you're going to get because yes, there's always a degree of illogicality of it all when you're talking about Lucha Libre, but Lucha Underground at least made it feel real-ish.
Yeah, but isn't the whole idea of like, because to my knowledge, like For whatever reason, like I don't really think of lucha libre and like American professional wrestling as the same thing. Like
They're
to
not.
me,
They're not. To be fair, they are not.
lucha libre is even more so than professional wrestling already is a cartoon. Like, isn't that the whole idea?
I mean, real life superheroes is probably the best
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of
it's
version. However, I always point to Lucha Underground because, and I'll limit this to Penta because believe me, we're going to talk more about Lucha Underground in general. Um, but I had never ever seen he was Pentagon Jr. at the time. I had never seen him before, and this is the case with a lot of luchadors that were in Lucha Underground. I had never seen them before. I watched one match of his, and I was instantly a fan.
I I tend to like because I'm a fan of Rey Mysterio. I like luchas because they tend to be acrobatic, and that's just
Th-
my
Typically, yeah,
that's I love
it's
I
it's it's
can't
cool shit. It's cool
I
shit.
don't I don't really it's not that I don't like punching in wrestling. It's just like my suspension of disbelief doesn't when they're punching each other and it's evident that they're that my I just can't suspend my disbelief. But when I'm watching a guy fly off of the top rope into another guy or onto a ground or onto something heavy or I'm like yeah I'm into this. So it's like yeah it's way more fun for me when it's more of a stunt show.
Well, but to kind of finish up, because Penta had probably one of the, and this is saying a lot, Penta probably had one of the best runs in Lucha Underground. Basically, from start to finish, he was there, and he had an actual story that, in the world of pro wrestling, made sense. I mean, it was out there, and I still, it's one of my favorite matches ever. And I point to this as, here's the thing: Pentagon is a really, really good wrestler, but where how do I word this? Where a lot of wrestling is undervalued is in the form of being a base for your opponent. And Penta might be one of the best luchadors I've ever seen do it because I've seen him do it multiple times, but two matches that stand out where he made the other person look exceptional and
Interesting.
carried and because Chelsea Green, actually both of them, the
Yeah.
matches and they're both in Lucha Underground. His match with Vampiro at Ultima Lucha 1, and Vampiro said he said that was all Penta, and I could see it at the time because Vampiro was not young, and
Mhm.
I know this now, but he has I don't want to misquote it, but he's got some ailments. I'll put it that way. So
Yeah.
he can't go out there and have a lucha style match, but that's okay because they hit it and paced it in a way where Vampiro looked like a superstar
Huh.
and it was brilliant. And then Penta has a match with Chelsea Green, which is a very different match. But she even I saw an interview where she's even saying she's like that was all Penta. Like
Hmm.
he made me look amazing.
It's interesting that you say the notion of luchador being more because you go back to Ultimate Muscle. Um, the notion that the wrestlers are superheroes that very much exists in Japanese professional wrestling. Clearly, like to me, American professional wrestling by comparison is more they're trying to appear like they're real fighters, like real people in a fighting like league
Yep.
almost. Like it's not a superhero versus like superhero thing, whereas in Japan, like all of the characters in Ultimate Muscle, they're superheroes and they're fighting supervillains or other superheroes.
I'd say less superheroes and more like because Japanese at least when we're talking New Japan, we're not. There's other promotions where I would say that's probably more accurate. New Japan is presented like a legitimate sport. However, it's more about fighting spirit, so it's very shonen insofar as like,
Interesting.
and there are heels, but they're heels in the traditional sense, where like generally speaking, they'll cheat or they're really rough. Um, but there's
Okay.
always a culmination where like a heel in Japan can still
Mhm.
show respect, whereas your typical American, although this isn't always the case, your typical American heel was more so a chicken shit heel, somebody who would run away when things were actually
Ah,
tough, or they would cheat,
interesting.
but they would cheat in like smarmy ways, like eye pokes and stuff like that.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Now here's another. How many wrestlers actually do the Kaneko Buster? Is that a common? Is
One,
that a?
it's not common, but there is one, and he was inspired by the manga. Samoa Joe, actually,
Oh,
that
so that is. Oh, okay,
he
okay. Because I
he
saw a
does
clip of him talking about it.
he does a modified version of it because the action, if you were to actually do that, it's very dangerous.
Super dangerous. I saw a video. It
Well, there's
wasn't
no
I
there's no way for your opponent to protect his neck in that
yeah.
position, so
Well,
it's fair.
they talk about it in one of the I can't remember if it was Ultimate Muscle, but they say it's the perfect hold because it you basically it's a perfect neck hold. It's the perfect drop and it's the perfect neck break all in once. But
That's
I saw
basically, yeah. Yeah, so Samoa Joe modifies it for obvious reasons. One thing, he doesn't jump when he delivers it. It's the same position. And then instead
yeah.
of going straight down to his butt, this protects Joe and his opponent. He just kind of does like a backdrop.
Yeah, I saw a short of once again
Chris
Chris
Van Vliet.
Van thank you. I'm gonna get his name right one of these times. He was asking Samoa Joe why he stopped doing it or whether or not he was gonna start doing it again. And
He
he
brought it
said
back.
that did he bring it back? Okay,
Yeah.
because he had said that the one guy asked him not to do it because it was like going through a car crash, basically. So how he described. And then in the clip they showed him falling backwards. I was like, well, that's not really.
I,
It
I
is
I can't remember. I think for a minute he did do it
the
like
proper way.
the in the manga. Yeah, I cannot remember.
But
Maybe
that's
not.
interesting that it's based off of the manga. I didn't realize that it was. I just thought it was a coincidence that it was.
Oh no, no, because he calls it the Muscle Buster, and he talks about it. He's like, yeah, I saw a manga. I think he saw it in Kunikuman though, not Kunikuman Nisei. Although I
Oh,
could be
that's
wrong.
funny
He may have
because
seen it.
I saw a clip of a Japanese wrestler doing the like he didn't jump. He just held him up and he dropped on his but he did like a pretty screen accurate version of it. There's also they did a Japanese professional wrestling run. I don't know if it was to promote Kinnikumen Nisei or what the deal was, but they had guys dress up like Mentaro
That's awesome.
Muscle
That's awesome.
and Kevin Muscle. And yeah, and he did a version of the Kinniku Buster.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was
That's
really
really
sick.
cool.
It was on YouTube for the longest time.
Oh,
Finding stuff
I'm
about
sure.
the Kinniku Man, it's weird. Like, no, I know why. We're gonna talk about why it didn't come to America. We're gonna we're gonna talk about why it didn't come to America.
Well, we're gonna take another quick segue to tell you about the new podcast, the Global Kindness Federation podcast, which you can check out on YouTube. But here is a tidbit about that.
That's fantastic.
Oh, if I can
Yet.
get it back to the right window. But yes, you can, like I said, there's a few episodes out now, but it is brand new. So subscribe today. Second link in the description. But I guess not so much in closing, but to kind of wrap up the main point is that Ultimate Muscle, Kinnikuman in general, but I'd say particularly Ultimate Muscle is interesting in the sense that because we were just talking about Samoa Joe doing the Muscle Buster, is this was inspired by actual pro wrestling and then would go on to inspire actual pro wrestlers who will
Oh, for
then
sure.
inspire like it. And that's
There's
what's
a lot
awesome
of
about
moves.
wrestling, and that's why I love wrestling because it's a constant.
Yeah,
Because
it's
because
not just the Kaneko Buster. There's other moves that were taken that other wrestlers. I was reading about it. The wrestlers took like I think one of Robin Mask's moves. Someone does. I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure.
The
I'm sure.
like yeah, it's always funny when you're watching that show. And you're, hey, that's a real wrestling move. I recognize that move. Like oh, he's doing a German suplex. Oh, okay, I know that. That makes sense.
Well, I mean, yeah, German super. Yeah, yeah, but it's funny, and you'll see the more you learn about pro wrestling, the more you'll catch these things. But there are moves that are done today as just basic moves that used to be finishing moves, and
Yeah, right.
some of them irk the shit out of me. Like the fact that people are taking multiple DDTs in a match.
Isn't a DDT a finishing move?
It was
Like I
not
was the.
anymore.
Isn't that the same with the attitude adjustment though? Wasn't that also a finishing move?
Um, I mean, a fireman's carry. I mean, it's technical. Although because I have this kind of brain, I did come up with a head canon to explain why people are able to do multiple DDTs and not being a finishing move anymore.
I mean, it involved Could be a triple DDT now. Now
I
that's the finishing move.
it's really not. But so you're familiar with what the DDT is, correct?
Yes, I know it. I could not describe it to you off of memory though.
Okay, so and I know you're an MMA fan. So basically, one wrestler gets another one in what would ostensibly look like a guillotine choke,
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, yeah,
and then
okay.
falls back and drives their head into the mat.
Oh, okay, okay,
So you can imagine if that was legitimately done to a person,
yeah, it would hurt.
that would be quite dangerous.
Yes,
I,
yes, it
I
would.
would see I would see why most people would not want to continue fighting after receiving that.
Yes, you
And
would see. Yes.
I always fathom it because I actually sometimes in Krav Maga, I will have somebody in a guillotine choke and I'll look over and I'll be like, what would happen if I DDT'd them right now? And they're like on pavement. And I said, yeah. And they were like, that would fucking suck.
It would hurt a lot. Here's a question. Has anyone ever done the muscle millennium?
No, I think that might kill somebody.
No one's ever tried to do a modified version of my thing was like I don't think ring rope can support that level of force.
Ah, you'd be surprised,
Oh, really? Okay, fair
but
enough.
to be fair, probably not. But anyway, so my head headcanon for this is okay. So Jake the Snake Roberts, they've used the DDT, and for a while he's the only one using it, and it's his finishing move. But as wrestling moves forward through generations and newer kids learn the business, right? They figure out ways to quasi counter it where they can't counter it fully, but they can take some of the impact off if they see it coming.
Oh, interesting. I
So
mean,
now you have somebody like John
makes
Moxley
sense.
who does a modified DDT, but what he does is he holds the guy's arms further up and then
Yeah.
does a DDT. And
Well,
that's a
that is
finishing move.
that is one of the characters in Ultimate Muscle, and also and Kevin Mask towards the end. But Mars, that's part of his gig. Is he or his bit is he discovers moves that people have done and he modifies them to. So in canon in wrestling, that makes sense. If enough people are doing the DDT, they're gonna figure out a modified version of that. That is clever continuity.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're
It
not
just makes
exactly
sense.
the same, but it's kind of like okay, the sharpshooter and the cloverleaf are not terribly different submissions. You just argue the sharpshooter's a slightly modified cloverleaf, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I'm that.
it's not and that's the fun thing, and even like and this is why I don't tend to be in the camp of like, well, wrestling's not even wrestling today. It's like, well, I mean, yeah, but like let's compare UFC 1 to UFC, what are we at, 350?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, moves evolve, things change. Also, like in its inception, it wasn't. Well, I mean, it was a carny thing, right? Um,
Going way back, yeah.
but wasn't it meant to emulate real Olympic wrestling at a point? It kind of evolved away
Well,
from
so
that at
no,
a point.
actually it was way back when the as the legend goes, it was legitimate, but they would be traveling basically fighting strongmen that would take on people from the crowd. And if you
Ah,
beat them, you would win money. But
okay.
basically it became a wager. But the promoters began to understand that if they controlled the outcome, they could make more money.
Ah,
But then it transformed from a betting hustle into a spectacle. And that was the genesis of what is today modern day pro wrestling.
oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
And the movie Queen of the Ring actually starts in that sort of Arnie setting. So it's an interesting history lesson.
Um, oh well, that is on my list. So.
It's good. I will so I actually said this I think when we talked about Queen of the Ring. So Queen of the Ring falls into the pit of what all great biopics risk in the fact that any it does a lot of things that are accurate and not just for Mildred Burke but for wrestling at the time, but because of the nature of the events that happen it goes against Hollywood pacing. So there are moments in the movie that feel really slow and kind of boring
Huh.
and stuff that narratively isn't really that important, but it's a nod to like the whole movie. One of the side characters is Mae Young, and for those who
Okay.
know, I don't think it's ever actually been confirmed, but it's pretty widely known slash believed that Mae Young was a lesbian, but she never came out and said it. But the movie heavily implies it.
Oh, it's one of those. My thing with biopics is I find if the people who were involved in the real events are involved in the production of the movie, it tends to soften parts like the Iron Claw is very much a victim of that, of being like leaving out some of the gnarlier bits of these people's lives because they didn't want to like there's some stuff involving Carrie Van Erich that the movie just kind of glosses over because Kevin Von Erich consulted on the movie and Kevin Von Erich very clearly didn't want his brother to be portrayed in a negative light is how it
No, I
reads.
mean, I don't know that I'd go that far because Carrie's not exactly presented in a super flattering light. But yeah, it's softened for sure. But I think it gets the point across.
True, true, true. It does, but that's not the worst. That's not the worst example of that. But I've just when we did based on a true story, there were certain ones where it was like this just feels like yeah, the person who was involved in this. Uh oh, there was a specific
Really
example
wants to
that's
look good.
yeah, it really wants to look good. There was a specific example of that where it
Well,
cuts to the
anything The Rock is in,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Anything the wrong. Oh, that was it. The
The Smashing
smashing
Machine,
machine. The smashing machine has a really they tell you that Kerr is an alcoholic, but they never show him drinking once.
which is the
And
number one rule.
he shows up at the end of the movie as himself, and you're like, oh well, that's why you never show him. Yeah. Number one rule of movies: tell, don't show.
Well, show don't tell.
Yeah, I know. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah. Well, the number one rule in biopics is tell don't show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to hear about the thing he did. I don't actually want to see it.
It's like, no, we don't have to show him doing 8 lines
Or
of coke, even though it happened.
yeah, that's kind of how, or like there's a lot of like the wife says that he's a mean bastard, but because Mark Kerr consulted on the movie, he's never actually shown as being a mean bastard. So the movie just kind
Everybody
of
just
has her
says
say
he
he
is.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's that kind of movie.
Like
But
everybody
it,
agrees that he is in fact a mean bastard, but you don't actually see him being a
yeah,
mean
pretty
bastard
much. Yeah, like oh, that's why you didn't get nominated for the Oscar, The Rock.
because you're
Good.
full of shit. Which, funnily
Yeah.
enough, I have a suggestion for your show before we kind of wrap up and get out of here. Um, so everybody's covering the Oscars. I feel like it's very much in the spirit of the Spur of the Moment podcast to cover the Razzie Awards.
Well, that's not a bad idea. Jordan said that the Razzies were way more fun than the Oscars.
Oh,
I I
yeah.
I do want to do a Razzies. We might do both. We might do both leading up to
I
because we
think we
gotta.
should because Snow White is going to clean house at the Razzies this year.
I don't know. I mean, Tron Ares has got some in there. There are some genuinely funny ones. We had some stuff to say about the Razzies, but also I want Jordan to watch K-pop Demon Hunters. So,
Oh, he
so we can,
has to. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that's why, and I want to watch Marty Supreme. Um, I felt bad because Haley messaged me distraught that Wicked didn't get nominated, and I forgot that movie came out last year.
Oh, come on. The Wicked was, and I'm not cutting up the movie, but Wicked was never going to be nominated for an Oscar. It's not that kind of movie.
Not 2 years in a row, I don't think.
No, it's not gonna. Didn't he get some kind of BS achievement award for finance or something?
Well, they won Best Costumes last year.
Oh, did they? Well, I can say, well, yeah, but you're
Yeah.
not going to win best costume for ostensibly the same costumes.
No, that's what I said. I said they're not going to get nominated again for Best Actresses. I don't know what the original song is to be. I was just surprised that it didn't get nominated for original song. As soon as she was like, "They get
I'm
nominated for
not
anything," I was
because
like,
the original songs were,
"Were they?" See, I'm
yeah,
not
they were.
enough of a fan of Wicked to. I didn't recognize which ones were the original songs, which is
Oh, I
probably a
did,
problem in and of
and I was
itself.
literally, I'm like, wow, these are kind of. But anyway,
Anyway,
long story short,
another
you can
podcast.
definitely watch Ultimate Muscle, and I'm not. Look, I think you should buy the DVD or Blu-ray box set, but um,
There's
a
a Blu-ray
certain
box set.
sure there is somewhere.
Oh, okay. It's very easy to locate it on a particular archive for the internet.
Oh, you're talking about the archive of the internet, so to speak.
Yeah, if one were to archive the internet,
It
you could
it
find
would
it in such an and you could find it in such an archive
it would probably be archived on the internet somewhere.
on the internet somewhere.
Are you picking up what we're putting down? Which here's the funny thing. I don't actually consider that sailing the seven seas.
No, because it's the Internet Archive. That's what
Yeah,
it's meant for.
yeah, that is the point, even though they took away our Star Trek source, but it's okay. I found another one. I actually did prefer working with the non what would that be? The non CGI updated footage, but
I liked it too, honestly.
I was gonna say, you work with what you got.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah, you know,
I mean, they're not that different. They're like the people shots are there's zero difference. Like it
yeah.
doesn't matter if it's the original or the CG updated, the cloud fucker looks the same.
It's still got that upper medium body shot,
Tons of them. But check out Ultimate Muscle, and if you want to see a slightly more serious wrestling anime, you should check out Tiger Mask W. I think there is a Tiger Mask anime too. I'm not sure, but I'm sure there is.
It's on my list.
Check it out and check out Spur Moment podcast this Sunday where we're gonna go deep into
Oh my
pro
God,
wrestling.
I got so much professional wrestling stuff to talk about. So much.
We're gonna sink in that Boston Crab.
We're
We're
gonna
going deep and we're going hard.
we're gonna have Jordan describe to us several episodes of Dark Side of the Ring because I think it's gonna be funny.
That is gonna be funny. That's gonna be a hoot.
A hoot
Ah,
and a holler. But that's Sunday at 11:30 is when the professional wrestling starts. It's movie news up until that point, but 11:30 is when the professional wrestling starts.
excellent. Well, we will see everybody on Sunday, and we'll see you we should see you in a couple weeks. We are still hunting for a co-host. If you are a pro wrestling fan and want to do a podcast every other week, um, let me know.
Minimal commitment.
Minimal commitment and lots of fun. But we will see you guys on the next episode. But until then, watch more wrestling. It's not difficult.